Hi, my name's Tony Garret. I'm a professor here at Korea University, but I'm also been the chair of the New Zealand Chamber of Commerce in Korea, Kiwi Chamber, for the last 5 years. I'm coming up 13 years. I came in the beginning of 2007. I originally came here as a contract professor, but I moved to a full-time professor from 2009. So basically been here for 13 years, enjoying every moment. My area of teaching is actually in marketing, so I teach in the business school at Korea University, but my research area is looking at the whole role of innovation, and that's what attracted me to Korea in the first instance. Back in the 2000s, Korea was suddenly becoming recognised as being one of the most innovative countries in the world. And I wanted to kind of get to know a little bit more about that. What have been the changes in Korea in that time? Actually, fundamentally, not a lot from the basic philosophy. I think the dynamic Korea still exists. But if I was looking at what was happening in Korea and the way that Korea has moved on, there's no question about it that Korea has gone from being a follower to really a trend maker. It is becoming a leader in this field. Yeah, you know, they talk about the digital transformation that's happened in marketing, and it's been happening, you know, since the whole era of e-commerce. But as a new tool, it requires new skills. And the biggest skills of all is the whole interplay in our whole communication with our consumer, our customers, and all our different stakeholders. Let's say about marketing, it's all about adding value. Now, whether we're using social media, whether we're using all these other wonderful tools and exciting tools that are out there, they are that. It's a new way of communicating. It's a new way of looking at who our consumers are, keeping control of the conversation, keeping control of what the value that our consumers are seeking from us and the value that we can offer our consumers. And so digitalization is definitely there, but sometimes we actually see a backlash because we now see a lot of people saying, hey, we've got this virtual world, but I actually want to have that connection with the people again, which is also bringing out a new challenge. Yes, traditionally, a lot of Korean companies have been there and investing in our agricultural, our seafood, our commodity industries. But now, a lot of companies in Korea are now looking at New Zealand for the different startups that are happening out in New Zealand. You know, I'm very proud of looking at some of our great organisations that are small, but they're experimental, they're exciting. They like to break different barriers, they like to change the way the games are being played. One of the biggest problems that they face is that they are relatively small. New Zealand is a relatively small place. And recently we saw a large corporation in Korea, from Korea, sign an MOU with a number of smaller New Zealand organisations to try and go into the new age of communications, media, entertainment, streaming, technologies, this sort of thing. So it's moving away from just F&B, but of course there's also the tourism industry, there's the electronics, there's the telecommunications, there's a whole bunch of other exciting stuff going as well. I think one of the biggest challenges for New Zealand organisations, you know, as I've mentioned a couple of times, New Zealand companies are relatively small. They have to be very savvy about where they invest their money, where they invest their resources. One of the great things that I've noticed with a lot of New Zealand organisations when they've come up here is that they've actually developed a very strong network with their partners in Korea to get the name of New Zealand, the name of their brands out to the community as a whole. I think a lot of New Zealand organisations also understand the sophisticated nature of Korean consumers. And Korean consumers are often treated as a test market into other much larger Asian markets. If they can be successful in Korea, based on the fickleness sometimes of the Korean consumer, and the fact that they are quite willing to try, experiment, give you very honest feedback